live from the Marsh Theater in San Francisco. It's the Will and Willie Show. I'm Paul Wells.
I'm Will Durst.
And I'm Willie the Brown.
And Joe Fitz. Yes, Joe Rodriguez.
Hi.
Fitzgerald. Now, is Fitzgerald your middle name, or is it Fitzgerald Rodriguez with a hyphen?
Fitzgerald's my mother's name. Rodriguez is my dad's last name.
There you go.
Puerto Rican, Irish, Italian. Hey,
one of those.
I'm the only Puerto Rican in San Francisco that can't speak Spanish. It's like
I have some questions that are put to the Will and Willie Facebook page, and let's start with you and state your name and give us your question.
Hey, man, thanks for coming.
Yes,
Good
thank you all.
afternoon, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Richie Greenberg. I am a resident here in San Francisco from the Richmond District, and I have a question about local politics coming up in November on the ballot. What you had mentioned earlier, that we have a slew of decisions to make. One of them is a choice that we're being asked if we should lower the voting age to 16. And I'm just curious to see what you all what you think about that, lowering the voting age to 16.
In this room right now.
my grandson.
Bernie would have won. Yeah.
And at 16, Trump might.
That's lowering the IQ to 16. Yeah.
That's what I thought he said.
No, voting age.
I actually used to also teach high school in a previous life, before life as a journalist. I can tell you those high schools actually know what they're talking about. I just saw one of my former students at the Harvey Milk LGBT Democratic Club's 40th anniversary gala, and he was stumping for Scott Wiener, oddly. So why was he there? I don't know, but it was a mixed crowd. But the only concern I have is they're really politically active, but will they actually go out to the darn polls, right? Like we didn't see that. We haven't seen that materialize for Bernie. So, if maybe they made you able to vote on Facebook, maybe they would. I don't know.
Thanks, man.
And Richie's running.
Is it Rich E or Richie?
Richie Greenberg, like Richard Richie Greenberg.
Richie. Okay.
He's running for D1 supervisor.
Yeah, I could do a plug for myself. I want, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He's waiting to see if
For District 1?
Well, now this is a surprise.
Where's District
The
1?
Richmond district.
Oh, yeah?
Eric Marr's seat.
Eric
Oh.
Marcy. There's 9 other candidates. So there's a
McGoldrick's
total
seat.
of 10 of us that are running.
Mike
10 of you.
his seat.
Great, good luck, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by. Next question. Say your name, where you're from, what your question is.
My name is Jenna Rinaldi. I'm from San Francisco, California, and my question is to the whole panel, but it addresses Mr. Fitzgerald Rodriguez's question about the commissions in San Francisco. And I'm curious how you would fix this supposed problem of the mayor having too much influence on the commission in light of the fact that Mr. Brown pointed out that the mayor's appointees are in fact confirmed through a process, much like, judges, other public advocates. How would you fix that?
Well, there should be no mystery. When you elect the mayor, part of electing the mayor is a program that person is advocating and talking about. Not exactly a platform, but it's a series of reasons why you should elect X versus Y or Z. And if you elect that person should be able to run his or her program, because that's what that person promised you. And therefore, the elements of the city should be responsive to what that particular program and that effort is being made to implement that program, and that's what the mayor is supposed to do. The mayor didn't get elected to allow some oddball who gets appointed by him to suddenly stand up and say, I voted for your opponent, and therefore I'm going to implement what your opponent was proposing because that was my view. Well, that person ought to be fired before he finishes his comment, because you elected the mayor with a program, and the mayor is supposed to be responsive to his program, and he is supposed to explain when he isn't, and he is supposed to explain when he fails, and he can't get away with saying, I failed because I made a mistake on whom I appointed. I have done that repeatedly. I made a lot of mistakes on appointments. I was a terrible person for appointed people. I must tell you, they were awful. Some of them were really not qualified by light years. Although, I appointed Gavin Newsom. I appointed Mark Leno. I appointed Michael Yaki. I appointed Amos Brown. I appointed Leslie Katz. I appointed Alicia Basharel, all to the Board of Supervisors. No other mayor has had that many appointments to the Board of Supervisors. 2 of them are still standing, Leno and Newsom. And I got to tell you, I had more trouble with those 2 people. Understanding that I got elected, they didn't. I said, you are free to vote any way you wish once you get elected. But if I appoint you, you only have one constituent, and that's me. And
See? Now he's just saying it.
I am going to be held responsible for runway at the airport. I'm going to be held responsible for what happens at the port. I'm going to be held responsible for what happens in the housing development. I'm going to be, my administration is going to be held responsible for homelessness. I don't want some wild card who didn't get elected out there running a program inconsistent with what I pledged.
Screwing with your vision.
That's right.
Now, Willie.
No, it makes sense.
okay,
If you're
okay,
elected
okay.
mayor and you're appointing this person, you're going to appoint someone who is beholden to you.
Willie has his vision. Let's all not disagree that Willie has a vision. But there's a difference between a policy-making body and a department that carries out the will of the mayor. There's a difference in that. There are departments that answer to the mayor. If you really want to worry about planning, worry about the executive director of planning. Don't worry about the planning commission. That's a very different
Well, Joe,
thing.
that's your view, and I think you ought to run.
Let's move on to our next question.
Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for the show and for allowing me to ask this question. So the city's expensive to live in, whether it's rent, what have you. The city's an expensive place. The Board of Supervisors barely gets a budget done, and now they've built into this year's budget an increase in the tax rate. The sales tax rate is supposed to be going up by 0.75% to, I think, 9.5%.
That's one of the
That's on the
propositions.
ballot for November, the increase in the sales tax rate. That is going to be voted on. That math was built into getting the budget passed. I personally think that's not smart. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to make living here more expensive by the way I happen to want to spend my money. So should that not pass, what's going to happen to the budget, all of the math and all the maneuvering that's now going to have to make midstream the budget balanced and the budget work? And why should anyone vote for this when it's already plainly and clearly expensive enough to live here?
Well,
Good question.
I got to tell you that I would not, under any circumstances, sanction presenting a budget that is based upon an anticipated increase in taxes to finance it. You ought to be financing that which you actually control, period. And believe me, that budget ought to be designed in that way. So you would have an option. All those additional things could be attached to that so-called increase and let you vote up or down. But the regular budget under which the city should operate ought to be airtight, and it should clearly be designed in such a way that without any change in the source of revenue, except by virtue of what people already pay, you won't have anything happening with that budget. Believe me, that is the only way to do it. And if you are of the opinion that you've just expressed, you can only vote one way, and that's no.
Mayoral candidate Rodriguez?
Oh my God! Can I say that I'm actually really frightened and scared for my soul right now because I agree with Mr. Brown. It's a crisis of conscience right now.
That just shows you that you're wising up.
But what I will say is that there is a set decrease for taxes at the state level that I believe that the city tax is kind of rising. I'm not sure if they exactly equate on point, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but off the top of my head, I believe there is a state tax that is dropping that this is going to kind of bring the city in line with. So the overall tax is not really going to go up all that much. It's just going to go lower in the state.
But Joe, forget whether or not taxes are going to go up or down. No budget should ever be based upon.
And if
That's what you and I agree upon.
Absolutely, not arguing with
That's
you there.
irresponsible politicking.
That's Trump logic.
Well, But then it also shows you their level of confidence, and that's the thing, is that this local government, it brings up a larger issue that's been happening. This local government we've had right now has been increasingly confident in what's going to happen at come election time, and that hasn't exactly panned out. Everyone was really certain in the moderate camp that Julie Christensen was going to win, and lo and behold, Aaron Peskin cleaned her clock. So it's definitely an issue that keeps coming up.
Let's switch gears right here because I wanted to take one of the questions we got on Facebook, and since Donald Trump's name came up, and it tends to, is there a process in place, this from Denise Brady, for the GOP to put forth a new candidate should Donald Trump resign his candidacy? I've heard a lot of talk.
Speculation,
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of talk about this. People are saying.
Many people are talking
many
about it.
people
Yeah.
are saying, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Important people.
Important
Top
people.
Top people.
I hear it all the time.
And I heard it, and I read it.
Yeah. I don't know where.
Yeah, I don't recall where.
Yeah.
I don't know who said it.
So the question is, could Pence become the GOP's candidate, or would it have to go to someone that ran in the primary? What happens if ballot materials have already been mailed? And what happens if Trump doesn't go along with it? How do they enforce it? That's my question.
Well, first and foremost, I really hope that they try all of those things. I want them to be totally and completely confused, because remember, I got Hillary in my pocket, and I don't.
For those not seeing this on a camera, hold it up for the camera there, Will.
But I must tell you, there is a process.
Is she warm in there?
She's near your heart. There is a process by which.
There is?
As a process by
Rule
which
9?
you can replace candidates. But you have a limited amount of time in which to, in fact,
To get
do
on
that,
ballots.
and you literally have to have for an example, there was a great guy that started me in the world of politics named Phil Burton. The first time Phil Burton ran for office, a dead man beat him. His opponent died like the 28th or 29th of September, and it was beyond the time period allowed to replace him. And so the Republicans were stuck.
So he wasn't
with a
even
dead
newly
man.
dead.
No.
He had been dead for like 6 weeks.
At least.
Oh, so
Believe me,
voters had plenty of time to weigh the
and
options.
Phil never lived that down. Every time Phil would try to give advice to his younger brother John or to me, we were young whippersnappers, and we were the leading oddball candidates and politicians at the time. And if Phil said something we didn't like, we reminded him.
You're the guy who lost to a dead guy.
Right. How do you lose to a dead man? And so,
What does the dead man have to say?
but I think there probably are some means by which, if the Republicans really wanted to do something, and it wouldn't be limited to the group, I would hope that, they would do something. What's the guy in Wisconsin's? Your
Paul
governor?
Ryan?
No, your governor.
Reince? Oh, Scott Walker.
Oh my God.
A lot of people don't know this, but Scott Walker actually had the hole in his butt enlarged to accommodate the Koch brother hands.
And Will's from Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
No, I have
Personal knowledge
interior
of this.
knowledge.
When I asked my readers what questions I should ask Willie Brown, that was about the tenor of most of the questions I got. So that's why I haven't read half of them.
And Walker was the first to drop out of all the candidates.
Yeah, because he was so expected to do well with all the money he had behind him. But
And he did not ever show up in any one of the debates or any of that kind of. Literally.
One time, Trump called for the wall on the Mexican border, and Scott Walker said, not only that, but a wall on the Canadian border as well. Totally leaving Hawaii unfenced. A security breach of a huge proportion. Yeah.
So yes, there is some process if it comes to that, and I'm just hopeful that they keep moving around until they finally find out that it really won't work, and let's hope
Man, it's getting near crunch time.
87%.
Do you think he's
is-
imploding on purpose? Michael Moore, the documentarian, wrote this great piece. You guys read it? Yeah. Where he's basically crafting this whole tale that kind of sounded like someone was telling him something on the sly, but he didn't quite say it. That Trump was originally running for president to kind of boost his negotiating power for his TV deals. And then when it kind of took off, he was just kind of like, "Yeah, well, actually, I could do this. I could do this." And then
Joe,
started
they had another theory too. They had a theory that Trump and the Clintons had conversations.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that's the one I thought you were going to go to. No. Yeah, because
Hillary would never
It's
do that.
also
She's in your
Hillary
pocket.
gets to appoint the next Supreme Court justice.
Well,
Mitch
not only
McConnell's
that.
working for her.
I've reviewed all of her emails. There's nothing in either one of them about
And no one's mentioned the producer's scenario. 50% to Mrs. Cathcart, 50% that he sold all this money, in his campaign, and he's just taking it in, and he's not spending anything. He's spending money at his own properties. He spent $400,000 at Mar-a-Lago, where he lives. He spent $400,000 at the Trump Tower, where he lives. That's his other
But
house.
you got to pay for the events. You can't put on
But
those
he's
events.
paying
You gotta pay
himself.
for the taco
What?
bowls.
He's paying himself.
And the fees for his family for speaking at the
Well,
Republican National Convention.
Well, this is America.
He's probably doing that thing that
There's
hospital
ways we
Francisco,
do
Willie.
it.
charging $50 a ply for the toilet paper.
And-
Trump branded toilet paper.
Yeah,
We gotta get some of that.
I was in New York last
I'll
week,
buy that.
and one of the things, I was walking out Fifth Avenue, I wonder why all these people are running around and moving things around. The guy said, "Look up." So, well, I got bad eyes. I said, "What up? What's up there?" He said, "There's a guy climbing up."
You were there that day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy doing the Spider-Man up the building, yeah.
And what I loved most, though, is all these people sitting there looking up, jump, jump. New Yorkers.
Hey, I grew up there, I know that.
I was just being
finally pulled the
sarcastic.
guy in.
Yeah.
I said to one of the cops, I said, "Why do you let these people say jump, jump, jump?" He said, "Don't worry about it. He thinks they're saying Trump."
And on that note, time to wrap it up. The
good
Will and Willie
timing.
Show, starring Will Durst and Willie Brown, is a Flow Communications production. A special thanks to the Marsh Theater, our AV crew, Ace and you of RealityCheckTV.com, and especially our executive producer, William O'Keefe, and to Tiger Lynn with one N, and TigerLynn.com for her music from the CD Soulfire. And you can get us on the internet at willandwillie.com.